Today, we have a star from both the CW and in Hollywood, Kevin McNally, a consummate character actor who most would know as Josh Gibbs from Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Kevin is an actor on The Outpost, the new CW series from the Librarian's director and producer Dean Devlin. The Outpost is a thrilling fantasy adventure with a powerful female lead who finds her destiny under the guidance of the mysterious Smith, played by Kevin. It would take us hours to touch on all of his work, from CSI, Supernatural, Doctor Who and more. We'll explore some of that in today's interview. So I'm TJ, our editor. We also have Minerva reading questions we pulled from the audience, Stacy, one of the owners of the Outpost wiki, heading up our Outpost feature, and Shay, here to reel it in with general sci-fi talk. So, let's begin. Thank you for taking your time to talk with us, Kevin. How are you doing today?
You're welcome. I'm doing very well. I'm here in sunny Barbados, so it couldn't be better.
Nice to hear. At least it's sunny for you.
Yeah.
First, Kevin, tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into acting.
Well, I really started at school, doing school plays, and I think after the age of 8, I never really seriously considered anything else, and I was lucky enough when I was young that there were lots of repertory theatres, or what you have called in America stock theatre, that I would join my local one and then go to drama school and then start doing television and theatre and film. So it was all a pretty early and organic process for me.
Speaking of early, your first film role was in the 007 movie The Spy Who Loved Me as a HMS Ranger crewman. What was it like working on a Bond movie and working with Roger Moore?
Well, I mean, it was very overwhelming. I was 19 years old. I'd just come out of drama school, and I suddenly found myself on the famous 007 stage with the late, great Sir Roger Moore, who even threw me a gun at one point, so I could kill a henchman, which was a very exciting moment for me. Sadly, I saw the film when it came out, obviously, and I'm not in it very much. But then for about 25 years, with the pan and scan TV versions, I was usually on the edge of screen somewhere, so I didn't see myself for another 25 years, and it wasn't until I finally bought a widescreen version that I could see myself again, doing my little bit of action at the side of the screen. So that was quite thrilling.
Yeah, I reckon it would be. Have you seen any of producer Dean Devlin's work prior to working on The Outpost, or any of the crew members you worked with there?
No, they were all new to me, so it was exciting, young, vibrant, and they had a great idea. But I did enjoy working with them very much.
You might need to watch Mythica then, because it's got like 90% of the Outpost cast and crew. So.
Oh, is that right? Okay, I will. I'll watch some of that.
Yeah. Other roles fans may be aware of vary from CSI, fellow CW show Supernatural as Frank Devereaux, Downton Abbey as Forrest Bryant, Turn Washington Spies as Richard Woodhull, but generally your best known role would be as Josh Gibbs in Pirates of the Caribbean. How did you come to be cast in the Pirates franchise, and what was the best part of playing Gibbs?
Well, funny enough, I'd been going up for American movies for many starting to say, look, I'm really not going to bother with this because they'll just cast William Dafoe or somebody and I won't get the role. But as it happens, the interview was on my birthday and I was in my back garden having a few drinks. And a friend of mine reminded me that I was supposed to go to this interview, and I went, there's no point in me going, I never get these. And I said, anyway, I've had a few drinks now. It would be unprofessional to go along. It's a pirate, for God's sake. It doesn't matter how much you've had a drink. So I went along and told a piratey story and got offered the role the next day, which was great. And I think the best thing about playing Josh Gibbs is, unlike any other role that you play, you don't have to try to look good in the mornings. You can just look as wretched as you like, and it'll be fine. Yeah,
that's true. Thank you. On that note, I think Minerva has related questions submitted by the audience. So I will pass over to Minerva.
Hi. First from the Pirates fandom, Chloe Mac 86 of Twitter wanted to know about the rapport on the set of Pirates, especially with Miss Keira Knightley. She's a fan, but and personally, I'm curious for any quirky tales that are yet unheard.
Well, I think most of the tales have been told already, but I can assure everyone that the atmosphere on Pirates, really good. I always liken it to being at school after the summer break and coming back and just picking up where you left off again, even though our summer breaks are often 5 years. It's a wonderful bunch of people to work with. Of course, we haven't really worked with Kira or Orlando. Well, Orlando and Kira had a small bit in the last film, but, you know, they weren't there all the time like the way that they were on the first three movies. And we've had some new characters come in. We've all assimilated very well. I personally like a mix of that. I like a turnover of characters, but also if we do any more, I'd love to see some of our old characters back who we haven't seen for a little while. People we missed from the first three movies, Pintel, Rigetti, Cotton, like that.
I do miss Cotton.
Yes.
Now, as CW viewers, a good deal of the audience were Supernatural fans, and while your run as Frank was roughly 5 years ago, he's still loved. Miss Teresa on Twitter asked, what about the role of Frank interested you, and if given the chance, would you be open to a reprisal of the character, as he was never seen dead, and do you think he would work with the Winchesters willingly?
Well, what attracted me about Frank Devereaux, of course, was that he was crazy, and playing crazy is great. I would love to play it again. I thought I would be playing it again, but 5 seasons have proved me wrong. So, they have a pretty high turnover of characters in Supernatural. I think if ever he went back, the writers would find a very good reason why Frank would have to work with the Winchesters, because I don't think he would choose willingly to do so, being a bit of a curmudgeon. But I think it's probably unlikely now after all this time. I'm genuinely starting to believe that I was eaten by Leviathans.
Oh, well, maybe we could start a petition and see about getting hashtag bring Frank back. But
all right, maybe we should.
You had mentioned that you have a habit of enjoying roles with a pinch of madness. You have Gibbs as a seafarer. You have the wolf chasing the prophecy. We have Frank the conspiracy theorist and more. Now, is it entirely a conscious affection for these roles, or do people at this point kind of go, that's the guy, that's our crazy guy, that's not actually crazy?
My choices are always about the script, and so plainly they're interesting roles. And I did have a decision in my late 30s that when I was a younger and more ingenue man, I played a lot of boyfriends and nice young men, and I really got bored playing those people. So as age got a grip of my throat and I became a more grizzled character, I naturally leant towards more eccentric character roles. Whether or not people think of me for them, I don't know, but they're certainly the ones that come through my door. They're the ones that I want to do, and in all of those cases, in all of those parts, you really identify that there's a hint of madness. But just like Mr. Gibbs, he may be mad, but as Jeffrey Rush always says on the pirate films, he's actually the only sane person in the film, because he's the only person who can practically have a plan and get through something.
And Frank was right the whole time. If you dig down deep.
Yeah, Frank was right the whole time, and I think the Smith knew what he was doing, but of course had that very dark past. So that really ticks all the boxes for me as a role.
That's fascinating. I wondered because of the theme there. Now, Rosie T. Riveter on Twitter wanted to know if you ad-libbed any of Frank's lines. She loved your delivery, and if not, what is an ad-lib on another character you remember that the audience might not even know was an ad-lib?
Because of the way I choose roles, they're usually incredibly well crafted when I get them. So I tend not to ad-lib very much. On the pirate films, the directors learn to let scenes between me and Johnny run a little longer, because we usually have something we can offer at the end. I can't think of anything specific, if I'm honest with you, because by the time they come out, I've forgotten what was written and what was ad-libbed. But I certainly do like to work on a script and will make suggestions and come up with ideas. But I like to be very well prepared when I'm on set, so ad-libbing isn't necessarily something that I like to do. It's also something that continuity production managers don't like, because they like to have the script in the form that's there, that's ready for the editor. So I think people think there's a lot more ad-libbing in films than there actually is. Usually a change is decided upon. Because it might, you start changing or missing stuff out, it might have ramifications further in the script that you haven't thought of, but the writer has or the director has.
Especially in a long-running serial like Supernatural, where Frank was from 14 years now.
Absolutely. And also, remember, I joined that show with a new character. I'd never seen the show, actually. So really, everything I had was what was written for me. And, I didn't know the world well enough to start inventing stuff. I could just invent the crazy looks,
You're good. You are better than good. You are fantastic at the crazy looks, but somehow your character is always the most sane one on set. So,
yeah.
Now, this is kind of related to the last few. Tink Oldfield on Twitter asked your opinion of Frank being sassy with Dean. You had mentioned you really enjoyed how well crafted the character was, but Frank had a habit of giving Dean nicknames like Cupcake, Sweetie Pop, Buster Brown. Do you feel this was just to jeer at him, like to irritate him? Was it some affection thing? What do you feel Frank's reason for taking those stabs at him were?
I think that he thought the character was a very, a bit of a man and quite macho and thought a lot of himself. So I think he just undermined him by these little cupcake and fruit pop and all that sort of ridiculous. I think it's just to undermine people. And I think he certainly wanted to undermine him because Frank found Dean very irritating. And so he wanted to sort of chop him down a peg, I think.
Run before the Dean fans find you. No,
This is Frank, not me.
Speaking of Dean fans, this is actually a fairly active Dean fan. Silver2357 on Twitter asked, what was it like working with Jensen Ackles? And Jared Padalecki is implicit, but you seem to have more exchanges with Jensen as Dean. Can you expand on that and about your experience with the rest of the crew and the feeling at the studio?
Well, I mean, it's a very well-oiled machine. It was a wonderful thing to work on. I really enjoyed my scenes with Jensen. He's such a consummate actor, very funny. I particularly enjoyed, there was one point when I had him a big cherry picker trying to look with binoculars looking at, I can't remember what it was, looking at something. He's not very good with height, so I used to like nudging the cherry picker and wobbling him up there, which kept him on his mettle, I'll tell you. I had a great first scene with the pair of them when I first caught them with the gun, and when I smashed their computer and told them to get rid of the car. Really great working with the guys, and it's always a great sign of a leading actor or leading actors in a show, and it's something I try to remember when I'm a regular on a show, of how difficult it can be to come into a successful show and just suddenly play a character. And the best people make you really welcome and treat you as an equal and work as hard with you as they have done, all through the years.
That's fantastic. I'm sure the audience is going to love to hear that one. Speaking of the audience and your use of the word consummate actor, it's ironic because it was a recurring comment from the audience that you are a consummate character actor and your roles are almost unrecognizable as the same person. A few people were like, wait, Gibbs is Frank? What? So Karen SPN on Twitter asked, when did you realize you were obviously good at or wanted to do character acting?
I think right from the very beginning, because as a kid, I had a teacher who loved Gilbert and Sullivan operettas, and I had quite a low voice even then, so I tended to play, if anybody knows those operettas, the baritone male figure, Sir Joseph Porter, people like that, in HMS Pinafore. So I can't remember a time I was ever interested in playing Romeo. I always wanted to play Capulet, you know. And apart from a rather dodgy 10 years in my 20s when I, you know, played these young lovers and young men, which I didn't enjoy at all. In fact, what I most enjoyed playing in my 20s is in the theatre, you know, playing crazed junkies and things like that. So it was just always on my radar that those were the interesting parts to play from the beginning.
You certainly have a skill in it, so I just wanted to give accolades from the same way. We had an entire thread of people, just they loved you, they love how long you, even as long as you've been gone from Supernatural, like I said, they climbed up in that thread to have a chance to ask you a question. So,
oh, that's wonderful.
On behalf of both us and our audience, thank you. I'll be passing the baton to Stacy for the Outpost end of our feature.
Oh, okay, great.
Thanks, Min. It's nice to talk with you, Kevin. On behalf of the Outpost fandom, our audience wanted to make sure that we conveyed how much that you have come to be adored by everyone that watches as the Smith and the Wolf. You're just a fan favorite in the short time that you've been with the character and the series. Won't give any spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen it or caught up yet, but wanted to definitely let you know that we still haven't recovered. We're taking all that in, but you definitely portrayed that character wonderfully, and hats off. Love the character.
Thank you. So did I.
It's just one of my favorite all-time characters, I have to say. The Outpost is definitely in our cult fandom niche. What inspired you to audition for this character? Was it what was your first impression upon reading the script for the first episode? What was your take on the Smith Wolf character?
Well, it's happened to me twice with two series this year. Usually when I get the scripts in, I will sit down and maybe read the first 10, 15 minutes, and I'll get a rough idea of whether I like it or not. But I very rarely read more than that. I found when the Outpost scripts came in, it was like 3 a.m, and I'd read 3 of them. You know, they were just so compelling, the story. So that's why I really wanted them to consider me for the role. And also I thought I had a good take on it. I thought that I could see ways that people would go at that and do something maybe a little too caricature with it. And I thought that he was a sort of I instantly thought of Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know, that he was a great sort of spiritual guide and a calm man, you know, and the design of my sword was great because although it was a smithy, it was very feng shui the way it was designed. It had that sort of Japanese feeling to it. The floor was raked the way the way a temple would be. So we were all on the same page about him being, you know, this very calm, Zen-like man, which is fascinating because when he was not calm, Zen-like, it was a bit more of the warrior. That very interesting dichotomy to play that I knew before the audience knew inside, that there was a very hard, steely warrior inside him.
Right. That was actually kind of part of the next question I had was, did you know that the wolf, you know, a lot of times in some of the scripts that you get, did you know that he was the wolf?
It came as a complete surprise to me. I never for a moment guessed until I, you know, read the moment of revelation and, you know, that wonderful tattoo that they put on me. It was terrific. I thought it was a great revelation, really. And it was it made the last scene between Talon and I, because she had such conflicting emotions.
It's true.
Losing our relationship. It was really, really clever writing. You know, a woman split between two of love and hatred, really.
How much, excuse me, how much do you believe the Smith really knew? Did he know more or less than he imagined, or do you think that there was more that he was able to tell Talon?
I think, you know, he had researched everything, the prophecy. He knew the background. He knew about, you know, the Black Bloods and how they tried to destroy them all, and he knew the Black Bloods needed to stay. So he knew everything needed for her to move forward. I think it was interesting that she kept asking him how, and he kept saying to her, "You already know. You just have to do." I mean, it reminded me of Yoda, you know, try not, do or not do. You know, it was that sort of vibe going on there. So, as you can see, I've been processing many Star Wars characters to try to get the Smith out of my system.
Yeah, it was kind of evident as watching myself, like, just tell her what to do. It
well,
was.
life's never that simple, is it? Really?
No. That's what hangs the audience in. Those really good characters that it's like you just you know they know, but you got to let the other characters feel that out as well.
Yeah.
We've learned through other interviews with other cast members of the Outpost, and that many of the crew members have hidden talents, some utilized in the show and some not. Are there any hidden talents or hobbies that you have that people may not know about?
Well, interestingly enough, just before I played the Smith, I was in Montana doing a film about Robert the Bruce, playing a blacksmith. There was a while there in my career when I only played blacksmiths next to very tall snow-covered mountains. And the reason I felt comfortable doing this is one of my first jobs was in the 70s, was a series called Poldark that some of your older viewers will remember. And in that I played a blacksmith. So I went and learned how to be a blacksmith. So this really helped when it came to playing the Smith, because there's one point when I'm making a sword. Now, usually that would be a special effect, but I said, I know how to make swords. So we had a proper coal furnace, and we would heat it up before each take, and that's so I could get the real sparks, and it was the right color. And a lot of people who know about these things wrote in and said, he was really forging that blade. It wasn't a special effect. So that would be my hidden and appropriate talent for the Outpost.
That's really neat. Yeah, Doug Pascoe had shared photos of that being reheated in between takes. So
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So that's cool. That's a very cool tidbit. Next question, what are your aspirations after the Outpost? Is there any particular role that you have in mind? Is there a dream role that you haven't gotten to play yet? Or an actor or actress that you haven't gotten to work with that you would love to be able to do?
Since the Outpost, I've done quite a few things already. I did a wonderful series in England called The Unforgotten that's just concluded. I'm about to work again with a very, very favorite actress of mine, Helen Mirren, on a project. So I'm very lucky in that I sort of work all the time, and my answer to what's the role you want to play most is always the next one. You know, I'm not don't particularly have a bucket list of parts. Particularly, unlike a lot of actors, I don't have a lot of shapes I want to play. I was lucky enough to be offered King Lear and I'd never really thought of playing that, but I played it, and it was a great experience. So I find that I don't have the time to sit around and think about that, because I'm too busy reading the next script and deciding what the next, which is a very fortunate position to be in, particularly when you're getting on a bit like me.
That's awesome. That is great. Oh, we definitely love watching you and everything that you do. Well, thank you so much for discussing your time on the Outpost with us. Shay has a few more questions for you, so I will pass it over to her. And thank you for answering my questions.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question, Stacy. But Kevin, as fantastic as today has been, the cult fandomites have to know, what are your favorite shows and films? Would you consider yourself nerdy or part of any cult fandoms?
My big fandom is science fiction. I read a lot of science fiction, and I watch a lot of science fiction. And, you know, from the really top range stuff to, you know, to the really rubbish stuff as well. I just can't get enough of that science fiction. So that would be my main go-to entertainment. My favorite films, a lot of my favorite films are science fiction films, Blade Runner 2001, Alien, things like that. In there, Apocalypse Now, which isn't, of course, in the right genre. So that's the thing that interests me. And whenever I go around conventions, Comic-Cons, I'm always on the lookout for the sci-fi stuff. And I usually pick up a few interesting books or little items or interesting T-shirts and stuff. So that would be my thing. And in fact, there's other things that attracted me to the Outpost, because I haven't done a lot of that, really. And I would like to do more of that.
That's awesome. I'm a huge sci-fi fanatic too, so
Yeah.
I feel you. We have a connection here. One thing that sticks out from cult fandom sci-fi standpoint, you were in the classic Doctor Who serial alongside Sixth Doctor Colin Baker. It was a while ago, but can you tell us anything about what it was like working there?
Well, it was great because I can remember watching television when I was very young, and I used to tune into a show when I was really young. I think I must have been about 7 years old, and I used to watch a show at 5:15 on a Saturday called The Telegoons, comedy show for kids. And this one week I tuned in and I was waiting for the goons, and it didn't. They said, "We've got a new show called Doctor Who." And I ran screaming to my mama saying, "The Telegoons aren't on, the Telegoons." She said, "Well, watch the new show, you might like it." And I sat down and watched the first episode, and of course was then a fan all the way through my childhood of this program. So to actually be in it when I was 28 years old was fantastic. I do have to say that the one thing I do bear with me, though, is that I do know that the episodes I was in are universally acknowledged as the worst Doctor Who episodes ever made. So I don't think that's my responsibility, but I do sometimes remind people that I know that, and it's okay for them to tell me that that's what it is.
What do you consider the highlight of your career so far?
Well, playing King Lear was pretty amazing, but undoubtedly playing Mr. Gibbs in the Pirates films has given me a lot of opportunity, you know, to travel, to work both sides of the Atlantic. I had never worked in America before I did the Pirates movies. So just in terms of opportunity and change and variety, that was a pretty seminal moment for me, getting cast in those films. Yeah.
Well, you were amazing as Mr. Gibbs too. By far one of my favorite characters from the pirate films. Thank you so much for your time, Kevin. We greatly appreciate you being here. But before you go, we have one request. And that is, if you had to pick one single favorite line in the history of your acting that sticks with you to this day, what is it? And can we get you to recite it for us as if you were doing a retake today?
My favorite line that I've ever said is, "Slap me thrice and hand me to me mama, it's Jack."
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any particular reason why that's your favorite line?
Because I found it so funny I couldn't say it.
Does he need to explain that one?
I mean, it's a great line.
It's from the third film when, it's just such a silly image, isn't it? Slap me twice and hand me to me mama. It's from the third film when we finally find Jack in Davy Jones' locker, and I see him come over the hill in the boat on Theodoma's crabs.
Mm-hmm.
You'll excuse the expression. And I just thought it was so funny. I couldn't say. It took me about 5 takes to say it without smiling. It's very funny.
Thank you so much for your time again, Kevin. It's been a thrill and an honor to speak with you today. Is there anything else you'd like to share before you go?
A rum punch.
I can actually help with that. Allow me to break for a minute. Found it.
Oh, the rum hasn't gone.
This is the mantle of ever giving topical things for any conversation.
Very good.
But again, like she said, thank you. Thank you for your time. I'm sure everyone wants to say their goodbyes and their thank yous, so. Tim?
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Kevin. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
It's particularly enjoyed you on the Outpost when I realised it was like, hey, it's the guy from Pirates, and I was like, oh, it's Kevin. And it just made it more enjoyable to watch. So,
thank you.
Thank you for talking to us about the Outpost today, and all your other work as well.
Thanks, Kevin. It's been a real treat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you again, Kevin. You have a great day, okay?
All right, you too.
Thanks.
How, on a scale of 1 to all?
Make sure to hit that notification bell, otherwise Kevin McNally will roast me again.
We had to get rid of the mooing dog. Bear with.
Yes, we're fine as frogers.
You're muted. You're still muted.
Shh! Don't judge me.
It's okay for them to tell me that that's what it is.
I understand that one too. I love Doctor Who, so.
Bye bye.
It worked! We did it!
That was Kevin McNally.
Was Kevin's audio good on your end?
It wobbled. He had some internet issues.
I thought so. I wasn't sure whether it was just me or not.
Dude, he's wearing like a Hawaiian t-shirt sitting in front of a beach house. I don't think anyone's gonna judge his
Man, breathe. You're getting me very excited there. Just breathe.
She's finally got like an opportunity to completely have her fangirl come apart. Just let her have it.
Thanks for watching, Cult fans. Make sure to check out more of our content on the channel and subscribe. Follow us on our social media down below and find more on our website. And also in the description below will be more details.